What's up, guys? What's growing on? So when I started this biochar kiln the other day, I didn't realize how moist the wood was. I thought we could get it lit. I didn't want to use gasoline. I didn't want to try to use anything else to get it going, so we just naturally let it dry out here for about a week. I got tied up with work. Finally getting a chance today to get back out here and light this kiln for you. So I think it's dried out enough now. We're gonna light it here in a couple of minutes, and then I'll come back and I'll pull out that inner retort. We'll show you how we crush it, talk to you about crushing it, talk to you about charging it, and talk to you about what we do with that ash. Hold tight. All right, we just lit a couple of places here on the top. We're gonna let that burn for a couple of seconds, and you can see I have these vents here on the top. They're still cool, and what we noticed was prior, when I shut the lid, when I put the stack on, I was kind of getting a lot of smoke. The kiln was not getting the oxygen it needed, so these top vents have allowed us to pull a little bit more oxygen, and I talked to y'all in the first part of the video about closing these bottom vents so you can actually harvest some of the char around the outside. Now, timing on that, it's going to probably vary from burn to burn, so I can't tell you, you know, at 1 hour and a half, shut it down and collect what's around the outside. I haven't quite dialed that in yet, but that is the goal, and that is the intent by having these, you know, shutters on the bottom, close it down, harvest what's around the outside. So, Ian, are you ready to shut the top on this bad boy? You know, typically speaking, in about 2.5, 3 hours, this is going to be done. Maybe about 4 hours before I can actually touch it and it's cooled down enough to get that biochar out of the center. All right, so it's time for that stack or chimney, you might want to call it. We're going to stick that on the top of the kiln now. And you can see that, I think I've, you know, from what I've done with my research here, oh, hey, Ginger, you want to get in the video? That's about 4 foot long. So, you know, the kiln itself is about 5 foot tall, and then we stick this on the top, and that's really going to draw and make it bellow through the top. All right, guys, we got the stack on. You can see behind me it's really starting to bellow, and, you know, in an ideal world, we'd have something to capture that energy. You know, there's a lot of heat being lost there. Alright, so the burn is done. I'm going to pop the top for you here, show you what the inside looks like, and I'm going to go get the... What's up, guys? That thing was a little bit hot when I pulled it out, so I had to go back inside for a little while, come back out, and now I'm ready to show you the inside. I know you guys are dying to see what this stuff looks like. So, you know, this is an inner retort style kiln, and, you know, through that gasification, you know, paralysis process, that's how we've made this biochar. So this was sitting upside down in there. That's so that, you know, that oxygen has to work to escape. So this was flipped over. You saw us pull it out from the bottom with those chains, and in an ideal situation, you know, and you had to lift it out like this, having it in an area where you could burn and maybe have something over the top, you could, you know, lift this out with a pulley instead of having to use the tractor. So you could see this barrel was completely filled to the top when we, you know, put it in here, and I've got about, you know, almost probably a little less than 50% that came back. And I could promise you, you know, if I was to put it in there, which I've only done one time, this is a W&W grinder. It's a very old unit. I use this once or twice to crush this biochar, and what I can tell you is it's just a dusty mess. You probably lose about another 20% in that crushing process. So you don't want to inhale that stuff. Even with the mask on, it was brutal. You know, that's another reason why I've started sourcing biochar in bulk. You know, I value my time a lot, and, you know, if I was here just working around the farm every day, and it was just a stacked item. We got it filled in the morning, you know, emptied it in the afternoon, okay, but because we do edible landscaping and because we use so much biochar, I had to find up another option. So inside the kiln here, you'll see, let me show you what the inside looks like. You'll see that's the bottom. So we probably get about a 5-gallon bucket of ash and a little bit of, you know, charcoal kind of left around the outside, and we'll use that as we plant fruit trees. So we use ash as an amendment on all of our bananas, all of our fruit trees. It's a great, you know, trace mineral. So it's high in potassium and high in other stuff that, you know, the trees definitely seem to like. So we use that regularly on our installs. You know, all of our bananas get it, all of our fruit trees get it. So I'll show you what the new stuff looks like and kind of go over the charging process with you. So this is the new biochar that we've been using. As you can see, you know, it's like sand. You know, much smaller, much more fine ground. And for me to get it like this from that, it wouldn't even happen. You know, this is going to bring it down to like 1-inch size pieces or something, maybe 1/2-inch size pieces. You can change the grate in the bottom and maybe make it a little smaller, but you know, what I could tell you is when I stick that biochar in there and put that capture, you know, that bit on the bottom to capture it, it seems like 50% of it just goes through the air. I mean, it's like a giant cloud of black dust out here. It's absolutely brutal. You know, it was another reason why I was like, all right, we're not making this. You know, this is way too much involved. So what we have here in this is basically charcoal. And you hear that sound like glass. You know, I've been told and I've read that's what you want to get. You know, you want that ting-ting, that glass-like sound. Good biochar should be flavorless. That's flavorless. And I shouldn't even say biochar, good charcoal. So, you know, this is charcoal. This doesn't become biochar until we charge it with nutrients, and there's many different ways to do so. So, you know, you could soak this in manure. You could soak this in a urine slurry. You could soak this in compost. It needs to be done for about 2 weeks. So that charging process does take a little bit of time, but what you could do is just mix up that crushed biochar. And I don't know if it necessarily has to be as fine crushed, but I can tell you is when you do fine crush it like that, you're really increasing the surface area. You know, you're getting more surface area with smaller pieces. So I also feel that those smaller pieces seem to drop down into the soil profile better than the big stuff that kind of stays on top. So when we apply biochar, we top dress. We put that on top of the plant. We put that on top of the raised bed. You know, it's a top layer item for us, and it might work its way down into the soil profile a little, but you know, the coolest thing about biochar, you know, this is supposed to lock up nutrients for thousands of years. So that's how we were making biochar. That's my kiln. You know, if you have any questions, like I said, drop them in below. Thank you all for watching. Sharing is caring. Please subscribe. Pound it.